I'm Stephanie Ruhle, and today we're talking trade, not trade war. On the trade war front, if you look at the markets, there's been positive developments. More and more information coming out that they're in negotiation, the United States and China. The markets like that. We haven't gotten any details what's actually in a trade deal, but from investors' standpoint, things aren't going to get worse. There won't be new tariffs, new punishments. So the market says something is coming, and that's a positive. But the important thing is something. So let's talk about balance. And I mean the amount of goods we're exporting to China and what they are sending to us. When the president was running for office, he went crazy over the trade deficit. But it's important to know that a trade deficit is different from a budget deficit. The way the trade deficit works, yes, we are importing all sorts of products from China. And what are they getting in exchange? Our money. The U.S. consumer decided years ago we really like cheap products fast, and it was China and other countries on that side of the world that were producing it. The president said he wanted to bring manufacturing back. He was sick of all these imports. So the United States is exporting less than he wants us to be. So the whole idea between the president taking a tough stance on trade, we're not seeing it in intellectual property, but we're not seeing it in what we are exporting to China. This is really important. It was that hollowing out of America. Our products weren't making their way overseas. It's only getting worse. We hear from members of the administration that the tariffs don't affect the American consumer. When a U.S. company has to pay more, they don't pass it on. Well, you can put the passing it on of merchandise to the side. And let's talk about the jobs. So when we ask the question, are you better off? The people who are losing their jobs because of these trade tensions, they will certainly say the answer is no. So is the economy overall, compared to the rest of the world, doing well? Yes, it is doing well by comparison. But the president decided to take on trade for the American worker. And for that American worker, and for those who care about this deficit, this balance, it's certainly headed in the wrong direction.
Hey, NBC News viewers, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.